You are entering the takeout, place together when the film is over. I'm your host, Joshua Ray, and as always, I'm here with my co-host and the managing editor of thetakeout.com, Andrew Wyatt. Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
It isn't Halloween, but today we are processing something kind of spooky. Andrew's pick for the first in our Gems of 2023 series, They Clone Tyrone. First, we're going to talk now showing. After we have some suggestions for the Academy, finally, we'll have one more thing. Wait a second. Andrew, wait a second. I don't think we have enough hot dogs.
That might be my favorite dissonant moment of 2023, like horrible clash between dialogue and music, intentionally so.
Oh, I have been thinking about this ever since I knew we were going to talk about this on the podcast. The listeners have heard the music. It's going in.
So to be clear, we're talking Todd Haynes' new film, May December. This is a film you are like over the moon for. You were like over the moon for on arrival.
Remember when it started and I levitated in theater? We saw it together. Yes, I think I came at least 6 inches out of my seat just at the get-go. It is a film that my boyfriend, we walked out and he said, "Wow, like that movie is specifically engineered for Josh Ray." Yeah, it is. You go first because you like it a little less than me. I think you like it, not to speak for you, but
no, yeah, I liked it. It's grown on me a little bit. As with most things, you talking with somebody who else is enthusiastic about something sometimes turns the corner on it. It's not necessarily my favorite Todd Haynes, but I can see exactly why you liked it. So for those who don't know, this is a sort of true crime film, kind of, in the sense that it's a movie about the true crime industry, in a sense. So Julianne Moore plays a woman who had, when she was in her 30s, she had a relationship with a 7th grader and went to prison for it, had his baby, and now she's like 60 years old and the kid is in his 30s, and now they have a whole family resulting from this union, and they're kind of like ensconced there in Savannah, Georgia, trying to make the best of things 30 years later. And Natalie Portman plays an actress who just sort of shows up trying to, I get the impression that she's doing I'm going to embed myself with this family and learn about this woman from the inside out kind of thing.
Because she is playing her in a film.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't clear about that. Yeah, so Natalie Portman's character, the actress that she's playing, is playing Julianne Moore's character, I think, in a feature film. It's implied that Natalie Portman's character is like a television actress mainly, and so this is like her first arty, independent, serious drama feature film that she's making.
Hey, I wish, I don't want to do a spoilery thing, but I wish we could. That's just the best ending of the year for me, that just pulls the rug out from under you a couple of different times. So
one more just for me, meaning maybe my favorite closing line of the. I will concede maybe my favorite closing line of the year so far.
Oh my
one
God.
More just for me.
Well, it has another great closing line with Julianne Moore,
which is
she says, "What did she say? I'm secure. Make sure you put that in it." Anyway,
yeah. Nobody who says they're secure. Nobody who is secure needs to say they're secure, right?
I don't know. At that moment, she sort of revealed how secure she really is. The film is very funny. It is an acidic comedy. It is transgressive as fuck. I should kind of warn people that the true crime element at the heart of it, the Mary Kay Letourneau of it all, is sort of, it trickles out throughout the first acts of the film what really happened, and it is a part of the text, but I think there are other things going on here to latch on to, even when you want to resist the story where your second lead is a pedophile, or I mean, we don't want to talk about Reformation and the criminal justice system. And I think the film is really interested in, like all of Haynes' work, in identity and all of the sort of nebulous parts that are supposed to make up one's identity. And in this way, this one to me is a bit more nihilistic than any of his other films, or at least his films since Safe, in that it says there is no identity. It's a very Nietzschean thing, I guess, and that people ultimately are unknowable, and trying to investigate people, you will fail every time.
Because it's a movie of hollow men and women.
Exactly. And for some characters in it, that is a tragedy and very moving. For for the two leads, it's a power play the entire time. And of course, you look at the poster and you see these two great actresses sort of silhouetting each other, or merging into each other, as it were. And it recalls Persona, Mulholland Drive, the great Persona swap movies. And this one is not as surreal as those films can be, but it's all there because it is about performance. And gradually, Natalie Portman, her character starts to take on characteristics as she is not only researching this person, she's infiltrating her life and her memories by even going to the scene of the crime in one of the that's the moment in the back of the pet store that I knew I'm fully on board forever.
And what's crazy about that is that, like, from a sort of serious, quote unquote, serious actor standpoint, a lot of the things that she's doing on paper just look like typical highfalutin actor due diligence stuff. She's visiting the locations. She's talking to the people who knew Gracie. She's talking to the family and trying to understand what makes her tick. But how she goes about doing it, and Natalie Portman's tone and body language and everything about how she does it suggests something weirdly sociopathic about it. I don't know.
And that's because it's revealed to us. We get that insight, to whereas those other people do not. And there's a moment where she's interviewing Gracie's lawyer, Julianne Moore's lawyer, and he says, "You remind me so much of Gracie. It doesn't look like there's a mean bone in your body." And she just smiles and is like, "Really? Thank you." And as we find out, that is not true.
Not true for either of them. It's a bad read on Gracie, and it's a bad read on her too.
I think this film is just incredibly rich. I've seen it twice now. I can't wait to watch it again, probably again and again and again. It isn't necessarily an easy watch. It can be very uncomfortable, but if you're someone like me who kind of is thrilled on the uncomfortable, or in those uncomfortable spaces, some of the things that occur, I mean, it really is quite transgressive to dress up what's, for Todd Haynes, who's a genre deconstructionist, is kind of his thing. People pigeonhole him in, and it's certainly true. He's doing like a Lifetime film,
a bit of a hothouse drama kind of. It's in Savannah, right? So
yeah. My friend Julian, shout out Julian, said it's like Safe, but with, and I completed the thought for him, Serial Mom. It likely is my favorite film of the year so far.
Wow.
And it not only with its surface pleasures, exactly what I need and want out of a Josh Ray movie, but everything Haynes is concerned with is also here. And it's a gorgeous looking movie for a movie that is like completely beige and sundresses.
It's very upper middle class Savannah, which means that it's like tastefully tasteless interiors, a lot of it.
Yeah, and that's where the Safe comes in of it all. You think of Julianne Moore's character in Safe and her getting mad that the couch is gray instead of beige or whatever it is. It's the sterile surfaces that we try to cover up ourselves with. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. Hearing you talk about it enthusiastically is infectious. So I give you that. I do want to point out like our two lead actresses are sort of getting all the attention, but Charles Melton, who
Oh my
plays the
God.
much younger son, much younger
Uh,
husband. So did
uh,
I say hon?
uh.
No, I was going to say has a conversation with his son,
Mhm.
the younger. So they have three kids together, an older girl and then a girl and a boy, twins. And Charles Melton character Joe has a conversation with his son who's graduating from high school around the same weekend.
Yeah,
That's
the next
just
day
like
or something.
completely heartbreaking to
Mm.
this. And but it's also funny because he's trying to relate to this kid who's like only 14 years his junior, and they're trying to share some weed and dad isn't doing too well with it. And so like, but that juxtaposition, that's like the Haynes thing to me, is that here we have this very earnest, heartbreaking conversation between a father and son, and then juxtaposed against the most ridiculous we're all out of hot dogs melodramatic shit you can imagine.
It must be his most enjoyable film at some level, which is kind of surprising. A lot of people like to call him cold and
No,
clinical, and Carol, even the
I get
film
it.
that is the most moving thing to me,
Yeah,
was cold and clinical.
Carol was cold. What movie? And I got a kick out
Look,
of, I always get a kick out of his Bob Dylan film too, which
oh
is a
yeah,
lot of
I mean,
fun.
he's someone who's having so much fun, and hey, guess what? He can be smart at the same time too. So I would recommend it to everyone. It is showing theatrically, but Netflix,
I can
this is a movie I
understand.
think a lot of people will respond to. They will watch on Netflix, and the
Mhm.
internet is going to blow up, maybe only on gay Twitter and film Twitter. But
And there's a Venn diagram that heavy
oh
overlap
yeah,
there.
film Twitter is gonna just explode. Yeah.
I think the thinking is that if you just put if Netflix puts a banner with those two actresses on it, they're going to get a lot of people clicking on that who would
Mm-hmm.
not willfully go out to a Todd Haynes theatrical film. I
Sure.
think it's their
Sure.
thinking.
Well, and that's my thing too, is that I when I saw it again, I saw it with an audience. They were having a hoot with it, and it's not not everyone's going to respond the same way because of the content within it and the places it twists and turns into. But I guess the movie star is dead. That's where I end up with all that.
Yeah.
Whatever. Movie
Movie
stars
stars
aren't
dead.
dead. No, they're not dead. Let's go to Emma Stone in Poor Thing, the New Yorgos Lanthimos, another fucking wild ass movie.
Yeah.
Like what?
I didn't know what to expect going to this, and I'm a huge Yorgos fan going back to Alps and Dogtooth.
Yeah.
So I've seen almost all his films, I think, and this is not what I would call a typical Yorgos film.
No, I mean it has a lot of, like May December and Todd Haynes. It has a lot of his sort of similar interests,
Mhm.
but a different spin on it, and the scale is certainly completely different. I
Yeah.
mean, it resembles to me like a historical epic.
Yeah. It's a
Not
picaresque, or however you
picaresque,
want to
right,
put it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Emma Stone is the lead of it, and she plays Bella Baxter, a woman who has been reanimated, as it turns out, by a what you I guess would call a mad scientist played by Willem Dafoe, who also his face has been figured and reconstructed, and they're outcasts of from society. And certainly the way that he found Bella, he wants to hide her away because he's put her unborn baby's brain into her head. And this is where a lot of the old Lanthimos comes in. A lot of play on language, a lot of importance with language as this person develops that skill. And she, as all humans do, a lot of humans, let me take that back, discovers her genitals. This movie is has a lot of sex in it. It is
This movie,
very
I
horny.
was not prepared for 20 to 25 Emma Stone sex scenes per for
I
2 hours.
Yeah, I remember people talking about it and getting little shots from the trailer we've all seen 5,000 times. But yeah, I kind of forgot that it was, he always has a great way of like centralizing and locating what fuels people, but
Mm-hmm.
he always goes about it in the most I'm going to say convoluted. I'm going to say that, and I don't mean that negatively, because generally I love all of his films. I think this one is the one I probably like the least, and I'm still pretty positive about it.
Mm-hmm.
But even through all of his strangeness, through all of his kind of surreality, he does locate a great center of this person that Willem Dafoe's character has created. And well, as she's kind of quote unquote growing up, she wants to go on her great sojourn and
Or
yeah,
Rumspringa.
I guess.
I mean, there's so many things that are fascinating about this film. I have not read the book by Alcidair Gray. Apparently, my understanding is that the plot is similar, but it takes a lot of liberties with setting and style. This is very much Yorgos playing in the heightened, surreal universe of like Jean-Pierre Jeunet and Terry Gilliam and to an extent Francis Ford Coppola. I kept thinking of like Adventures of Baron Munchausen in terms of like the visual style of it. It takes place ostensibly in the late 19th century in a couple different locations, London, Paris,
Yeah.
but it's
But there's
so
some like
it's a
future steampunk
yeah, there's
leaning
like
things, and
sci-fi, fantasy, steampunk nonsense sprinkled in.
but all in the margins of things. Don't let us calling this steampunk deter you from seeing it. Those of
No,
you
I
who don't
mean,
respond to that.
I mean, I think it does bear. It's so outlandish in terms of production design. I do think it bears telling people this is not a quote unquote historical epic in the usual sense. It's a heightened reality. It's a fairy tale, fairy book reality.
Mhm.
But there's fascinating things going on about gender and sexuality and society, and like in some ways Bella sort of scans as a creature without any self-consciousness or shame, and sort of it's almost like Yorgos is imagining in the same way he likes creating these sort of artificial realities, like he did in Dogtooth, like he did in a sense in Killing the Sacred Deer, almost like he's testing sociological ideas. And in this case, he's taking this person who has absolutely no shame, who's growing sort of at a times 10 rate from infancy to adult to fully realized adulthood in the space of a very short amount of time. And he's imagining how Victorian society at large would react and how the people around her would react if we drop this person in an adult body into this time and place, and what sort of he's watching things collide and watching how she develops, how she sort of goes through all the stages of adolescence and young adulthood in the space of what presumably is a few weeks or months.
For me, what's most interesting is the way she develops the shame, the way she develops what Lanthimos seems to believe are things that are born of nurturing of our human race functioning as a society, and that are not necessarily innate to the human animal.
Which I think says a lot about him, right?
Right.
He seems to postulate that sentimentalism is not an inherent part of humanity, and we have to learn it.
Right. Yeah. Like we learn love.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of big ideas in this. It's similar to the kind of world that he created with the lobster, in just that.
Yeah.
With boiling human experience down to these few ideas, and trying to break apart what the ideas are and how they function in a society of people. And I'm not going to say our society, because certainly the lobster doesn't really mirror, we can't turn into animals yet.
No, but this is the function of science fiction and fantasy to an extent,
Sure.
right? It's just create alternate settings to explore real ideas that affect our world. And I think this film, I think it's a film that's very bizarre. Let's put it that way. A lot of people are not going to know what to think of it, but I do think that there's a lot of ways to come at it. If you were like a production design, art direction aficionado, this movie is going to be like crack. If you love Emma Stone, I've never really been particularly sold on Emma Stone as a great actress, but this movie kind of started me thinking about her for the first time. Is it real?
She is
the thing she
kind
does
of monumental in this.
Yeah, the thing she does in this movie, especially just watching her modulate the way she speaks over the course of 2 hours, is sort of fascinating.
Without it feeling very studied, rehearsed, or anything, it feels very animalistic, very, very like it's coming from in her. It doesn't feel like a performance, like you can see the wheels turning at all. In fact, what I love about it is you don't see wheels turn.
Yeah.
So she's horny.
There's this kind of an affectlessness to Bella that I guess rings true if you know that she's a reanimated fetus corpse. She's some kind of, I don't know how to describe her. She's some kind of Ouroboros of Frankenstein monster. I don't even know how to.
Well, there's a lot of Frankenstein in it too.
Yeah.
A lot of Shelley in there. Yeah, it is really wild. I thought the second half really spun its wheels a bit. I would like to see it again with a big audience to see how people react to it, because it is also very funny too. Like all of Lanthimos. I mean, his earlier stuff is very stealthily funny. Dogtooth, if anyone laughs out loud during that, you'd probably look at him like, are you good?
I've laughed during Dogtooth. I've seen Dogtooth like 3 or 4 times. It's awesome.
So good. So funny.
You have to laugh, but you also have to kind of go, ooh, during that one scene near the end.
Jesus. I don't want to think about that. But yeah, definite 2 recommendations. Hey, good movies. Good movies coming.
Good movie.
Can we talk more? Like, can we talk about another science fiction, pseudo science fiction film?
Is this going to be about Hunger Games? Is this going to be about Hunger Games?
No, I did kind of like that. No, let's move on. Let's get into our next miniseries. It's the Gems of 2023. Hey, this is the 3rd like Gems of whatever year that we've done.
Yeah. 2 years. We're doing it. This silly podcast has been going crazy.
Yeah, so silly. It is Andrew's pick called They Clone Tyrone.
What kind of shit is this?
Like I'm in the Twilight Zone now.
Don't let the back door hit you.
We gotta go.
I don't know what that was, but that wasn't me.
Somebody is conducting experiments on us.
Our final miniseries of the year, Gems of 2023, things that we think are underseen or underrated. I forgot that used to be a part of this podcast, that we used to underseen, underrated, whatever. They Clone Tyrone. It's Andrew's pick. Netflix picture. Hey, did this show locally anywhere?
I don't think Netflix gave it a theatrical release. I think it was straight to streaming. Yeah.
So here we are towards the end of November. We're starting to think about the end of the year. We're trying to catch up with everything. And we are doing this miniseries where we're looking back at the year and making recommendations for people to see. And you have picked Jewel Taylor's debut feature, right?
Yeah. I
was trying to see, like, he's made a few shorts, has some writing credits on that terrible fucking Space Jam reboot. Jesus, did you ever watch that?
No, thankfully I didn't. He also wrote Creed 2, so it's a very mixed bag.
Right, yeah. I didn't look to see who else has writing credits on Space Jam: A New Legacy, but I'm sure it was written by committee or Algae Rhythm. That is a joke for people who have seen it. Anyway, Andrew, why'd you pick They Clone Tyrone?
So I didn't know much of anything about this film. I caught it on Netflix, I think opening weekend or maybe the week after. This was like released the same weekend as Barbenheimer. So I think it got sort of lost. So one of the reasons I picked it is just it was a really excellent piece of counter programming from that weekend that I remembered. And I think it pretty much flew under everybody's radar by virtue of being sort of lost in the shuffle of 2 major releases that had a lot of hype associated with them. I also think it's sort of a great. So we do rag on Netflix a little bit here, but I do think it's a good streaming film. And by that, I mean, it's a film that makes good use of the streaming medium. I think this has the sort of thing where the title and the banner with the actors on it would like make somebody go, what the heck is this? I need to find out what this movie is. So yeah, this is the directorial feature debut of Jewel Taylor, who also wrote it. This film was floating around in Hollywood for a few years, is my understanding. It was a blacklist, sort of identified as a very promising but still unproduced screenplay that had been floating around, I think, since like 2018, 2019, something like that. Finally greenlit, and with Taylor directing, I want to say that Brian Tyree Henry was originally supposed to be the lead character, which I can't see at all. Having seen it now a couple times, I can't really see it. The lead in this film was John Boyega, who I feel like is really excellent in it and is sort of essential to why it works for me at all. Notes to other British actors: study John Boyega in this movie and learn how to do an American accent properly, because he is aces at it.
He really is. Yeah, he's
not many British
at a lot of things, right?
Yeah, but like not many British people, like respected British thespians who have like decades more experience than John, can't do it at the level that he does it. I don't know why that is. He's just really good at it. So please study him, Benedict Cumberbatch. Did I say that out loud? Oh, sorry.
Oh, the power of the dog. Power of the dog.
So yeah, and I was sort of immediately taken by it. It hits a lot of my, while I was watching it, let's just say I was sitting there ticking off the influences in my brain about other movies that I loved, that this is not even stealing from or homaging, but just feels like it's in that same plane of speculative fiction, satire fiction, other things that I love. There's some People Under the Stairs in there. There's some Cabin in the Woods, The Prisoner, Clockwork Orange, Westworld. There's a little bit of Us, Jordan Peele's Us in there. A little Sorry to Bother You, Boots Riley. There's so many things sort of floating around in the mix with this movie. I sort of was maybe primed to like it.
So let me see if I can do a plot description. So we've got John Boyega playing Fontaine, who is a drug dealer in an unnamed, predominantly Black neighborhood.
No, it has a name. It's called The Glen, but we don't know what city.
Right. So we don't know if it's like a suburb of a major city, if it's like in less populated areas. And we've also got Tiana Paris, who plays Yo-Yo, a sex worker, very charming sex worker, a very funny and witty and sharp sex worker who is attempting to leave her pimp, Slick Charles, played by Jamie Foxx, while outside a motel room trying to get some money from Slick. Someone gets revenge on Fontaine by shooting him 6 times. But then we get a Groundhog Day effect to where Fontaine wakes up and is kind of like, goes about his day, goes to the convenience store he always frequents. And then he runs into Slick and Yo-Yo again. And they're like, what the fuck? You were shot 6 times. What is happening? I am now spiraling in an existential crisis. So that leads them to start looking at little things that are happening in their community. And what they find is an underground bunker. This is sort of where your Cabin in the Woods comes from, right? Underground bunker where they find Fontaine's bullet-ridden dead body. What the fuck is going on here? There's also spiked fried chicken. There is a new genre or artist of music that seems to have a weird effect on them. There's a lot of little things happening in their community, the Glen, that amount to what they think is a conspiracy. And they are right. I mean, we're going to spoil the thing. Essentially, what's happening is, it's it is sort of the like the Us and the Get Out thing. One of the problems I have with Get Out is it plays like a metaphor, but is very literal about what it's dealing in, which is fine because it doesn't need to be a metaphor because it's the idea of it is so powerful anyway, where things like the sunken place become like something they talk about, something you talk about in your lives, like you're putting words to an idea that's a common experience. Us is, to some people, opinion of it, to the detriment of the film, I think it's a masterpiece, is a little bit more open-ended in its world building.
I think it's, and I have come to view this as a good thing. I think at the time, I definitely thought of it as a negative compared to sort of the laser cut precision of Get Out. But Us is about a lot of things. And I think you can say the same thing about They Clone Tyrone. It's trying to juggle a lot of notional balls all at once.
Yeah, there's a lot of notional balls. That's such a fun phrase to say. I mean, essentially what we find out is that this is a project that has been happening decades in the making, where they are replacing choice people in the communities in order to sort of anesthetize the entire community.
I mean, it's mind control. I think the thing that it helps to keep in mind here is that there is a level on which the plot makes a kind of sense. But I also think, like Us, if you start thinking about, like with Us, if you start thinking about it, does the plane with the tethered really make any fucking sense? Not really.
Yeah, I'd see. I'm so unconcerned with all that. It happens, and I think it's the kind of values of it, the visual and tonal values of it mean so much that if you want to pick apart the little pieces of it, you're going to unravel what's magic about it. And I don't care to do that. Like, it's not a part of the experience for me. This didn't have that kind of magic experience for me. I think it was, I want to dig into something you said, and that it is tailored for the streaming experience, because that was, to me, a negative. I could see distinct chapter breaks where this thing could have played like a 6-part limited series if you start stuffing it with more,
or 3-part, or 3-part. Do the
British thing. I mean, you could very easily chop it up right now, because the screenplay has these crescendos that feel episodic to me in a very streaming era way, to whereas it's that kind of binging quality to it. Like, it gives you, every episode gives you the crescendo that is to a cliffhanger, and of course you want to just keep watching the entire thing.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that's fair.
To me, it's that started to take me out of it by halfway through it. There were so many other things that are quite good about it, particularly John Boyega's performance. He's so good because he fits in the tone of this, and the tone is a little less acidic, sardonic than Sorry to Bother You, a little bit more heightened than like Get Out. Jamie Foxx and Tiana Paris are like the comedic relief.
And Jamie Foxx is really good in that. I do want to say that I feel like to me, it feels like he hasn't been having fun the way he's having fun in this movie in a long, long time. This feels like sort of old school comedic Jamie Foxx making a resurgence for me. But you're right in that Boyega's, he's almost playing a character who doesn't know they're in a black comedy, satire, sci-fi, fantasy film. Like he's playing the type, and works on a couple different, like there's almost a meta thing going on here, right? Where Fontaine has been placed into the Glen, and they keep making clones of Fontaine if he dies, because they recognize that this sort of typecast drug dealer heavy is an important role in this universe. But Boyega is playing him as a guy on 2 levels. One is a guy who doesn't realize that he's in a satirical sci-fi comedy, but also playing the existential crisis that he goes through eventually very realistically. He's not playing, like you say, in the comedic register that Tyrone Paris and Jamie Foxx are. He's playing it almost totally straight, which is really which could be seen as maybe the blandest choice, but ends up being a fascinating choice and playing to Boyega's strength, I think.
Your eyes follow him. Mm-hmm. To whereas, Tiana Paris and Jamie Foxx they're certainly not, their characters are not aware up to a point that they're in a satirical black comedy, but they are more playing the stereotype, and they're playing it up. They're kind of hamming it up. And the film gets to where it has a point about that, in that these people have been brainwashed and planted, and they're born of different circumstances than what they just immediately see. But it kind of John Boyega's very kind of studied, slow rhesyms. He's just a fascinating person to watch. My eyes just always want to see what he's up to. And he's played a more comic relief character. You think about Force Awakens and his role in that. I mean, he's pretty funny in that. And he's not this sort of po-face figure that he is in this film.
But if you've been following his British career, if you watched, for example, his performance in the Small Axe episode, Red, White, and Blue, that he's absolutely spectacular in.
So good.
He has these chops in him. But yeah, it's a fascinating performance. I'm really glad that, Taylor's the kind of, it feels like a first film in the same way that Sorry to Bother You felt like a first film. He's trying to cram in a lot. He's trying to prove himself. But I could see a different kind of director sort of not letting Boyega take it in that maybe straight-faced, po-faced direction. And so I appreciate that aspect of it. It does make sort of the existential crisis that Fontaine eventually has almost like a complete breakdown at a certain point between acts 2 and 3 really fascinating to watch. It makes the moments of tenderness that he shares with one of the neighborhood kids feel like something. At that point in the story, we understand that Fontaine is himself a form of control on the system that's going on inside this community. And so that we get to watch these touches of authenticity in his relationships with the community, with the guy at the corner store, with the kid who comes to a stoop. Those moments speak to that there is maybe somebody inside this clone there's a human being who's making connections that have nothing to do with the quote unquote system, the plan, the conspiracy that's happening. And that to me just makes it all the more effective.
Can we break down the quote unquote twist at the climax, where you discover that he's at this point third generation clone of the person who's actually masterminding all of this?
Well, not all of it, to be clear. There's an important distinction. So there's an important there's an important distinction to make, which is that John Boyega is sort of it's not just a dual role, not just a triple role, it's like a multi-role. But the key character that he ends up playing at the end is, I don't think he even has a name. I think he's just the unnamed geneticist. Chester is the name of his straight-laced clone, who's the enforcer. But I'm not sure he even has a name. But anyway, it's John Boyega under a bunch of old age makeup, playing an elderly geneticist who has been working for the program. And I think it's an important distinction to make. We get these third act revelations, as you say, that his character, this geneticist, has been working for the program and helped them develop the cloning technology that has been used in this community and in communities all over America as a part of this larger government project, of which Kiefer Sutherland sort of plays the representative of that project in the Glen. And as he says, we all have bosses up the chain that we have to run.
I'm putting a pin in Kiefer Sutherland on our board. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And as the geneticist explains in his sort of villain monologue, he has sort of piggybacked his genetic program on top of this larger mind control conspiracy, that he's using this as a way to get what he wants, which is to literally engineer the blackness out of Black America over the course of generations. And there's a really brutal line he has the effect of, assimilation is preferable to extermination, which is just a horribly cynical,
Right.
self-loathing line. But yeah, that's my take on it. That he does seem to explain that he's almost running his little, not necessarily a side project, but he's piggybacking on this the funding and resources and freedom to act that he's been garnered by this larger conspiracy.
Yeah, he's like the brains, the brains that have been co-opted for more nefarious reasons.
He's made the deal. He even says, "I've made a deal with the devil, and I'm okay with that."
I don't think I've thought hard enough about this in order to make the point I think I want to make. Like, what do you think the point is? I mean, the point is assimilation. Is that better than dead? And sort of agency, ownership in the Black community. I just sort of like Sorry to Bother You, which would kind of explain its ideas to you, even
almost to their detriment.
To me being very annoyed. I think you like that movie a lot more. Yeah. How do you think all of that works in here? It does develop nicely. And by the time that the Chester, is his name Chester? I looked at the letterbox. He's billed as Fontaine, Chester, and Tyrone, which we can get to
those
the
are
ultimate ending.
Those are three different characters. They're not the geneticist. I just call him
the geneticist and his project being co-opted is the point that sort of stereotypes that they want to perpetuate a net negative in this culture for the filmmakers.
I think so. I mean, again, remember the original goal of the project, and you mentioned Kiefer Sutherland, as Kiefer Sutherland's character articulates, the ultimate goal of the project is sort of pacification. It's keeping racial tensions and general civil unrest in a larger sense under control in America, to keeping everything nice and even all the time. And part of that involves specifically addressing, he intimates that it's part of the sort of the original sin of America, that, backing it all the way up to slavery and whatnot, that this is an original sin that we've never been able to, quote unquote, solve. And therefore the government's sort of band-aid solution is this pacification program through various mind control and social control. And that the cloned individuals like Slick Charles and Fontaine in this community serve a purpose to keeping it sort of everybody on track. And that's where I bring up the Westworld thing, particularly as it's salient to Westworld season 1, about the idea of loops, the idea of people having behaviors that they sort of are ingrained to take over and over again. And the idea that trying to draw the distinction between programming in a person and programming in a machine. Is there a distinction? Is it even really programming? I don't think it's a film that's like dealing with hard sci-fi concepts in a sense, but it is playing with those same ideas, I think. But yeah, like their view, it's touchy, right? Because this is a film that articulates, and the filmmaker has been very upfront about this, that he has a very ambivalent feeling about some of these ideas. The idea that, racially loaded but culturally important markers, like, for example, the corner fried chicken shack in an African-American neighborhood. It is important. It's a point of pride, but also there's like negative cultural associations with it from racial stereotypes. And in this movie, fried chicken is being used as a means for white America to control Black America.
Right.
So he clearly feels some ambiguity about that. And you can see it in all the little different things. We see some specific products in the film, but it's interesting that if you look at the back, this is a production design bonanza film. If you look at the background, there are certain products that come up over and over again. The malt liquor brand, the menthol cigarette brand, there are things that are explicitly tied to the mind control, like
the hair
relaxer product, the grape drink that is also used in the churches. And in that in itself is kind of a hornet's nest, right? Like, is the Black church in these communities a place for joy, a place for independence and exuberance, or is it a place for subtler means of social and cultural control? I think the film is ambivalent about that in the same way the filmmaker is. And I think that's okay. To me, it just scans as we're going to use all of these cultural signifiers as a means to sort of tendril our way into this community. there's a different, slightly different version of this film that's maybe more invested in those ideas beyond the pleasures of sort of a sci-fi comedy, fantasy comedy, which I think, for my money, one of the reasons I like this one is I feel like it does a good job of balancing that. But I can definitely see another version of it that's more of a thinking man's satire, social critique, or whatever, what have you, more Putney Swope than sort of Scooby-Doo gang kind of thing.
And there is a lot of this that is like just surface level. And I talked surface level. That's not me saying negative about things.
But I think there are details, like, to me that feel like a Black authorship. So, for example, the hair relaxer, as you say, is just sort of thrown in as a thing because there is this contentious idea of good hair and bad hair and relationship of the Black community to hair,
to whiteness,
hair products and whiteness and beauty standards. All that stuff kind of just comes in. You just name check it, and you bring in those things. But what feels like a Black note to me is the fact that the white conspiracy never thinks that maybe Yo-Yo might be wearing a wig, which is a very Black woman thing to do, right? And that gets her out of the horrible situation that she manages to sort of cunning her way through that by them not understanding that a lot of women wear wigs.
Well, and that's another, to me, while watching it, I was thinking it was a negative and then turned out to be quite the positive for it. They very easily uncover this conspiracy.
Right.
And all that, at first I'm like, I'm playing CinemaSins and I'm like, they wouldn't find that easy. No, they would have cameras in there. No. And then I realized they are the idiots.
Right. The conspiracy is full of idiots. Yeah.
The conspiracy is made of fucking idiots who do not understand Black culture, who do not understand the individuals that they think they're playing like marionettes. So it is smart in that it does sort of undo the things that it thinks
and their mind control is
not doing.
And their mind control is not subtle. It's not
no,
it's not sophisticated.
It's not very effective either.
Yeah, but it's not sophisticated 4D chess, social, manipulation. It's, let's put some laughing gas powder in the fried chicken. Like, it's literally that dumb.
Yeah.
Let's put something in the grape drink to make people a little more accepting of authority. Like, it's not high level. And the ridiculousness of the avenues of control, maybe that's why I was thinking of The Prisoner. Like, there's an element of the absurdity of the means of control is sort of part of the humor and part of the absurdity of the situation. I do want to say, though, that one of the things I think this film has over Sorry to Bother You is that there's a great third act turn, which I really responded a lot to. And, like, I think you're right in that there may be some episodic breakpoints, obvious breakpoints in here. I do think maybe the movie is like maybe 10 minutes too long, could be tightened up a little bit, especially in the third act. But I do think there's a great point where after Fontaine, Yo-Yo, and Slick Charles find the conspiracy, they go down underground in disguise, see everything, basically learn everything, except the final reveal about the geneticist. They come back up through a strip club. Kiefer Sutherland has a big villain monologue, catches them, has a whole big villain monologue where he explains everything, and then lets them go. Fontaine sort of goes back to his life, and there's this great sequence that is all about Fontaine trying to adjust, that he has to sort of live with this knowledge, that he can make a decision. Yo-Yo takes a completely different tack. The next morning, she's raring to go. She's like, okay, I've got a way in for us to get back down there. I've got a way for us to sort of topple this thing.
She's doing cloak and dagger business.
She's doing Nancy Drew. She talks about, they were talking repeatedly about Nancy Drew as being like her model when she was a little girl, and she's sort of still on that kick. Fontaine's just sort of taken a more pessimistic, nihilistic view of it. I can't really resist anything.
Kiefer Sutherland gives them a choice. It's either you die right now or live with this. Yeah. Which, again, the logician in me is like, just fucking pop them. You have clones. But that's not the film's point, right?
Right. Continuity of identity, too. Just because you get killed. Let's not turn this into The Prestige, right? Like, just because your clone gets killed doesn't mean you live.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to do that.
how can I put this? For me, I found this very affecting and effective because it's doing something that I don't think that Sorry to Bother You ever quite pulled its claws around, which is the idea of once your eyes have been open to the horrors of modern society, however you want to it, the horrors of late stage capitalism, the horrors of racism in America. Once you've become woke, so to speak, how do you go back to living your life? How do you modulate your existence? How do you proceed through the rituals that you know are part of the larger system? And this film feels like it grapples with that through Fontaine in a way that I haven't seen many other films in this sort of subgenre deal with. I thought it was really fascinating the way that it's how do you go back to living your life after your enlightenment, after you've been made aware of everything that's wrong and rotten with the world. How do you participate in the world? Yeah, you continue to participate in society, as the meme says. So yeah, that's just something that I loved about it compared to a lot of other films that are sort of operating in the same register.
Can I take the pen off the board?
Yeah.
Is Kiefer Sutherland a bad actor? I do not like him in this movie.
I don't think so.
And
we just talked about the Lost Boys.
We just talked about the Lost Boys. I don't like him in that. I don't think he gets the register of these very specific worlds he's in. In this, it just feels like I have to do Jack Bauer gone bad.
I have never seen 24, so I have no frame of reference for this. But I think he's a fine actor. I don't know if he's a generational talent or anything, but I've always thought of him as a good actor. I
think the apple fell far from the tree. We salute you.
That's just mean. That's just
Mr.
mean.
X.
That's just mean.
Speaking of conspiracies. Yeah, anyway, one thing I want to talk about is how this film looks.
Yeah. So when I said streaming, a good use of the streaming medium, one of the things I meant by that is that this is a film that for the first time throws in sharp relief how that every other digitally shot film on these streaming platforms doesn't have to look like shit. That you can make a digital film that's gorgeous, that uses color, that uses the sort of squirmy grain of digital filmmaking to fine effect.
So I don't know if you're ready to go down this rabbit hole with me.
Okay.
Are you prepared? It's not. I'm gonna keep it above ground.
Okay.
May December also shot digitally.
So a great looking film. Also a great looking film.
The Killer also shot digitally. These are films where we've reached a point where the digital can mimic film with grain. It is a stylistic choice because it recalls either a certain period, a look. It adds a kind of depth, a feel to the film. It's just a weird thing because they started touring 35 millimeter prints in May, December. And I was like, I thought it was shot digitally. So why would you do that? Anyway, this is neither here nor there, but it is just an interesting thing that digital has come so far that we need to throw a layer of grain on it. That is filmic grain. Digital grain is like blocky and gross, and the blacks get inky and nasty.
Well, it's like these squirmies. I don't know how to describe. I'll describe them.
It looks like film grain to me, and there are white specks throughout.
Yes,
and
there are cigarette burns.
Yeah,
there's cigarette burns in the corner.
And so all the hallmarks of it being on film it's pretty intentional, but it's so much cheaper to shoot digitally, and then it seems to be a kind of trend that's happening recently that I'm just kind of interested in because I'm interested in those things and the aesthetics of film and like why we've gone so far into digital to just make it look like film, but is much preferred to me. Like it's just such a great look. Like it gives so much texture to everything.
And it's a colorful film.
The first scene in the motel parking lot
with that fuchsia, that magenta light,
oh my god. And then the green of like the parking lot lights, just this like magenta and green, purple green. It's so gorgeous. But throughout the film, like it just keeps finding really I would call them subtle ways of doing it, even though it was striking to me. It's not the like Almodovar where you're looking like
Yeah.
in an apartment and everything's like red surrealist circles. It's heightened naturalism to it that I
Yeah.
found really striking.
And there's really excellent production design, I
Yeah.
think, too. I guess what I meant by digital is that if I said to you, streaming exclusive, director you've never heard of,
Yeah. I know exactly what you
film,
mean.
it looks, a lot of them look like ass. And
This
film looks gorgeous
to this. Yeah, there's a care to this that isn't present in I don't
Yeah.
know what else to
So-
and
Todd Haynes, David Fincher, I think, is a level up here. Like they can do whatever they want in terms of like format and medium, but this has maybe like
they can't though, not really anymore.
But what I mean is that like this is the kind of film where they could have gotten away by making it as cheaply as possible and not caring how it looked, and it looks amazing. The production design is great. I sat there and I guiltily freeze framed Yo-Yo's bedroom and studied it. She goes back to her grandma's house at her childhood home, and there's so many incredible details in her bedroom that like basically give you her whole character's history without having to have it stated explicitly.
Yeah, it's her childhood bedroom, and I guess she's left some things from her childhood, but like all the posters on the wall and her just perfectly organized Nancy Drew collection, and it does really tell you a lot about it. And the choice of lip color, like
this teal lip. I told my wife, I was like, I'm sorry, I like John Boyega's a handsome man, but I can't stop looking at Tiona's teal lipstick. It's just drawing my eye every time I see her.
Yeah,
and those big boots that she wears, like those with the garters on them,
and her hair and everything about her is
great costume design.
It is very. She's doing the thing. They're making her the thing, but she really lives in it well and carries it well.
And I don't think it's incidental that Yo-Yo is not a clone. So we learned that Slick Charles and Fontaine are clones. Yo-Yo is not, which makes it interesting that she's sort of the character with we learn about a childhood of big dreams and agency that was sort of derailed by the place that she lives in.
The third act really hinges on her using her agency too.
Right.
She sort of becomes the actor in all of it. She takes the action because everyone else is like existential crisis time.
Yeah, and Fontaine, I mean, both in terms of where she is in the plot too. Fontaine literally becomes the Trojan horse. He's not the detective character. He's the Trojan horse.
Yeah. Well, even though, I had some reservations about it, I'm still just like, that is the kind of Netflix original that I'm glad that someone is throwing money at this filmmaker, just kind of letting them do what they need to do. I mean, even though I'm talking about the Netflix of it all, it still feels born from a person and not by committee.
I mean, Space Jam: New Legacy aside, it makes me excited to see. I hope Taylor gets like a bigger ticket to do films sort of on this indie films, but on a big scale with big crazy ideas like this. I want to see I like seeing these kind of films, so I hope he gets the ticket to do whatever he wants next.
Yeah, I'll look forward to it too. All right, are we ready to recommend some things to the Academy? Okay, believe it or not, it's award season.
Oh my God. How can this be? How can this be?
Another rotation, another award season. We're here.
Don't ever do that accent again.
Oh, I keep doing it. I'm so sorry. It's it's the drunk version of Jinx Monsoon's Judy Garland. So it'll keep happening. But we wanted to get ahead of things and recommend a few personal picks bring to the Academy's attention, because we have so many Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences members listeing to this podcast.
Who care so deeply about our opinions on these
matters. They're going to listen to this and be like, I know I now must see that documentary Joshua recommended. Sure. Great. But at least y'all will enjoy hopefully a few things to think about throw them on your list that you're doing. All right. I'm going to start us off, and
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that documentary that Joshua recommended. I've actually talked about this documentary. It played True False last year. Yeah, last year. It's called Gods of Mexico. And it is a tripartite of certain geographical areas in Mexico. One section plays very much like a very meditative, fly on the wall document of some workers drilling limestone, but it's so fucking gorgeously done. It has the rhythm and the tone and just the music of, parts of 2001. The first 10 minutes of There Will Be Blood. It just has this kind of gripping quality to it where it puts you in this suspenseful area where it's really just documenting these things. Of course, it's gorgeous 235 widescreen. The second part is portraiture of people in Mexico, but they're staged in certain ways where they bring out certain qualities, either from their background or their personality or what their current work is. And then it moves and has a third chapter that's a little bit trickier, that's kind of a combination and has a real narrative to it. I didn't know this film came out. It's one I was hoping to put on my 10 best list. Last year, I was on some website and I saw an ad for Canopy advertising this. And I was like, wait, that movie came out? It did play in limited release in major cities, large cities, New York, LA. And it's handled by Oscilloscope. So it's a film that is now available for folks to go out and seek. That's Gods of Mexico.
It sounds like a definitive true false kind of movie from the way you're describing it.
It is, because it has an experimental bent. It does have the ideas of narrative and fiction meeting and seeing what happens. As you and I both kind of respond to, it is this ethnographic survey of things. I hate to feel like you also respond to those things. I mean,
no, I think with that. There was a film, I don't know if you saw it as well. There was a film a few True Falses ago that I really loved about a tequila distillery in Mexico. And
last year.
Was that last year?
Dos Estaciones.
Yeah, that I was really fascinated with. I guess it's loosely fiction, but it's so invested in the spaces and landscape and process of like agave and manufacturing and so forth that it almost comes off like ethnographic documentary, anthropological documentary. Loved it, but a very sort of true falsy film.
Absolutely. Yeah. Either way, yeah, I hope people just check it out. I don't know that it has the scale or the distributor to be able to make it to like the doc committee's shortlist. I would hope so. I feel like if people see it, they'd be even if they don't respond to it in the way that I did, they'll certainly not be mad at me for giving them an interesting time. All right. What's one of your picks?
So I've got something that I think might actually be a dark horse candidate. I don't know. I don't have a good sense. I'm completely checked out of the awards, quote unquote, conversation.
Oh, baby, so, it's my sports. I'm checked in. I will tell you.
My please nominate her right now is Sarah Flack for editing Priscilla, which I think she's a editor who's been around the block for a while. She worked with Soderbergh. She's done I think she's cut almost all of Sofia Coppola's films, but the editing in Priscilla is just chef's kiss. It's beautiful. It's so integral to why the film works, the flow of time, the way that she puts together these spaces and objects, not just the action with the actors in them, but sometimes shots that don't have anybody at all in them, and the way that she paces it, just really essential editing in the best possible sort of art film narrative art film way that I absolutely love. Editing as a category, it tends to award most editing a lot of the time, or completely inexplicable side swipes like Bohemian Rhapsody. But this is like a really great example of here's somebody who's never been honored by the Academy, as far as I can tell. I think she has a BAFTA or something, or she has an Emmy, I think. But she really needs to. She's been working for a long time, and this is just sort of pinnacle craftsmanship. Definitely needs to be recognized, I think.
I hate to say it. I feel like Priscilla is unfairly going to be completely shut out of everything. Calling it now.
Okay.
Even though in like those technical categories like editing, cinematography, certainly, production design, costume, it's yeah, one of the best. Come on, open your eyes, go see Priscilla, Academy members who are listening. All right, I'm gonna stick in the tech area, and I'm going.
I am too. I'm not doing any actors. Sorry.
I have actors. I am going to talk about the cinematography of The Killer. Another film I believe that will be completely shut out. And we've already sort of talked about it. It is this digital as film look to it, and then it has this sort of filmic grain, filmic depth to it. The cinematography is done by Eric Messerschmidt. He also did Mank for Fincher. It's a David Fincher film, The Killer, that we talked about in the last episode.
I didn't know he was the Mank lens in as well.
Yeah, so he's the one that did all that. I think this is much more successful and much more. It has a sort of placidity to it that matches the methodical nature of the subject, but what's happening in front of you is often at great tension with those things, and that's what I think is so beautiful about it. Plus, it's a movie that it's a globe-trotting movie, so like you're looking at beautiful tropical trees one moment, and then you're looking at London streets the next, and then you're in like more rural areas in Florida, and that just a great action sequence in there. But this is someone who's worked with Fincher, understands that Fincher has a very certain aesthetic he's looking for, and I think he did a great job of achieving it here and making it just look fucking good.
How do you make a Ustoric facility look visually sumptuous? I'm not sure how, but he manages to do it.
Right, and I'm so tempted to give Fincher some of that credit because he's so meticulous. Well, at least that's how all the pieces would have it for us. But it's just a bang up job that will go unnoticed completely. And part of that, I think, is probably because of the genre and the scale of the film's somewhat smaller than we're used to with Fincher. All right, what's your next one?
So I'm going to do a never in a million years chance for cinematography as well. For a foreign film cinematography. Have you seen the film Godland yet?
I have not.
Okay.
And I know I will before the end of the year because it is required viewing.
It's an Icelandic film. I think I wrote about it at the Take Up. We showed it at Webster earlier this year here in St. Louis. This is a film by Hilmir Pálmason, who also Icelandic filmmaker, also made a very good sort of Nordic noir called A White Day. This is historical epic about a Lutheran Danish minister going to Iceland and trying to build a church in sort of this very remote, rural Icelandic coastal town. It's like 3 hours long. It's very slow. He doesn't even get to the town for like 90 minutes. It is very, very beautiful film. It's shot in very squarish 1.33 to 1, and it has these kind of rounded corners. I don't know how to describe it. Sort of old photo look to the entire film is shot like that. But it's just a gorgeous film. It's not the only thing going for it, but I feel like it's essential to a lot of the film is about photography. It's about this sort of wet plate colloidal process photography. The priest is an amateur photographer. He loves to take photos of people. He kind of fancies himself an ethnographer and loves taking pictures of the people and places that he visits. And so much of the film is about imagery and about the staginess of photography as an art form, particularly back then when you couldn't have people moving for 5 minutes while the plate is being exposed, versus the naturalism of just filming people in the modern day, just filming people going about their business. There's so much going on in this film, and a lot of it comes down to just how it looks and feels based on its visuals. There's some spectacular nature photography. There are like borderline avant-garde interludes of like lava bursting forth from the Icelandic volcanoes, and scenes, time-lapse photography of skeletons decaying on the tundra and being covered with snow.
Say no more, King. I get it. I'm going. It's on Criterion Channel right now. Janice and Sideshow.
They distributed it. Yeah. So highly recommended film. No chance in hell that Maria von Hauswolf is the cinematographer. Sorry if I didn't say her name earlier. No chance in hell she's ever going to be nominated. But it's the one film where like the camera-ness of it all. So often we talk about we like the camera to be seamless. The camera-ness is essential to what makes this film work. So highly recommended as a film in general and for its cinematography specifically.
Well, my last one, I thought, I shouted out my friend Julian. I told him after I watched Asteroid City for second, third time, I'm like, this thing, it's going all the way, baby. I don't think that's happening anymore.
Yeah.
I think that it has the potential to, because of what that film is about. And it's about making art. It's about building narratives. It's also it's so funny. It's so like there's a million people in it. Like why is it not going to happen?
I don't know.
Whatever.
Too early, right? That's the convention.
Too early.
Movies that come out in spring or summer don't stand much of a shot.
Too early. And if it were to have this Grand Budapest Hotel effect, it would need to make a lot more money, and which it did fine. It did fine.
I feel like the movies about movies thing aside, which the Oscars do like, I feel like if Grand Budapest wasn't like the big haul for Wes Anderson, this won't be. Does that make sense?
But don't forget, Grand Budapest swept the first half of that Oscars ceremony. Grand Budapest got a lot.
It didn't win the bigs, but it did win.
But if it didn't win the big thing, you're right. But I thought it just had the sentiment that people would respond to. It's about acting, blah, 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 blah. So many reasons that I don't think Jeffrey Wright will be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And I don't think Scarlett Johansson will be nominated for Best Supporting Actress. So, yes, I'm sneaking into this is my chance to talk about Asteroid City. I think it's a great film. I think you do too. I love this movie sincerely.
Top five movie for me this year. I can't quite decide where I'm going to put it yet.
Yeah, something else we've talked about is number one. This is definitely number two. They might flip-flop as I watch them both ad nauseum perpetually into eternity.
But Jeffrey Wright too is like, I feel like, and he's only the past two movies that he's been involved with Anderson. He hasn't had anything before French Dispatch, did he? Was he in Isle of Dogs?
Really good. He's really good in French Dispatch. Is he in Grand Budapest?
No, he's not in Grand Budapest. But I was going to say, he's sort of a latecomer to the Anderson players, but he feels like he should have been there a long time before. His style,
because he's able to do the deadpan thing, but also imbue it with so much life. Really, it's just one scene that I'm talking about, because elsewhere in the film he's kind of just doing one-liners, but there's one scene where he recounts his entire life in under 3 minutes, and it just a puddle of tears without it seeming sentimental. It's just the ideas he's able to bring across with that. Scarlett Johansson playing an actor who's playing an actor who's acting depressed. Come on.
Let's not even try to parse the nesting doll layers in anybody's performance in this movie, but Johansson in particular.
Yeah, this is someone. Is she in Isle of Dogs? Look, I've been in a Wes Anderson movie. It doesn't matter. But the same could be said of Jeffrey Wright that you could say of ScarJo. She's really nailing the register, and she's really doing a lot of work with a very little. And she's a movie star playing a movie star, and it's so important that you get a movie star doing it, because just like everyone in Asteroid City, you're watching her, like you are looking right at her,
right?
And she's incredibly funny and incredibly moving. I think it's it's one of her best, and I think she has a lot of great performances and a lot of trash too. But I think it is really special.
Johansson is really sort of grown into
Yes.
like one of our great American actresses, and I don't think that's necessarily was a given. Even though she was a child and she's been performing for a long time, I don't necessarily think that was a given for a long time. But she's becoming maybe one of our more interesting working actresses. So yeah.
All right, you got one more?
One more. This is might actually be nominated, but I'm not sure. Daniel Pemberton's score for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. He was not nominated for Into the Spider-Verse, which he also scored, but I feel like that film's best animated feature win aside, quote unquote franchise of these two movies now has sort of built up steam. And I do think that his score for Across the Spider-Verse is working on an entirely different level. I think Into the Spider-Verse is mainly like people remember the music, they mainly remember What's Up Danger. They remember the songs.
Yeah.
More than they necessarily remember the score. This film, from the minute I saw it, I couldn't get the score out of my head. He's doing some incredible. I'm not a musical person, so I'm not good at explaining these concepts and ideas in real terminology, but he's doing this thing where he has like half a dozen different motifs for different characters and settings that rely on similar little flourishes of melody or style or rhythm. And he's repeating them over and over again to spectacular effect. There's a way in which, if you recall, we talked about Into the Spider-Verse earlier this year. If you recall, there's a very distinctive sound cue motif that the Prowler gets. It's this very bassy rumble. Remember, every character in Across the Spider-Verse has a cue like that associated with them. And sometimes it's done very subtly in the score. Sometimes it's right there in front. It's just it's incredible score in general, but I think it's a very specifically an incredible comic book score. In the same way that I can't freaking tell you any of the Marvel live action movie scores off the top of my head. I think the only one that sticks in mind is the one that won the Oscar that year, which was Black Panther. But
yeah, do this is like them have music other than Black Panther? Because in my head they're all
yeah, like this is the definition of great superhero scoring in my mind. Distinctive motifs used to incredible effect, emotive music, good action scoring. Like it's again, it's like the pinnacle of what I would consider sort of great animated action scoring for superheroes. You can't do better than this. I don't know how anybody could have done a better job with this, but apparently he's gonna have to make a third one, so we'll see.
It's a whole slate of recommendations for everyone, in particular our Academy members. You don't exist. Hit me up if you do. Tell me what's up. What's going on, guys? All right. Every episode we round out with one more thing. Hey, we just been recommending stuff, and we have one more for you. Andrew, you go first.
Okay, this is a film that I was sort of holding in my back pocket for a couple months now. When I was doing some research on an Exorcist presentation, I stumbled onto this film that I think is the closest to a precursor of The Exorcist that I could find, which is an Italian film from 1963 by Brunello Rondi, who is probably most famous for Black Emanuelle, White Emanuelle. He did a lot of trashy Italian movies, a lot of caged heat movies. But this is a fascinating black and white religious horror film. I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't really have any real supernatural elements depending on how you parse it, but there is a demon possession and an exorcism at the core of it. For me, it was sort of blindsided. I found it and discovered it was streaming on Shudder and like watched it that same night. And it's spectacular. It's a 4-star film for me. It's up there with like, it has very like strong Pasolini vibes, Gospel According to St. Matthew and his Greek mythology films. Great, like completely unhinged lead performance from the lead actress. Movie about witchcraft and the general like blinkered patriarchal nastiness of rural Italian Catholicism. Just a cool movie all around that I've never heard of.
It's such an Andrew movie, the way you're describing it. But yeah, it's on my watch list. We started talking about it because we were talking about that very subject.
Yeah.
And I was like, and you found that, and we're so excited about it. I'm
and it
excited
has
to watch it.
So if you've seen the extended / director's cut, aka the version you've never seen of The Exorcist, it has the famous restored spider walk sequence. This has a spider walk in it. I cannot believe that William Friedkin did not see this movie. So
Friedkin, you fake, you phony, you
so
stole
anyway,
a spider walk.
The Demon, now streaming on Shudder, also found under the name Il Demonio. If you can't find it in the English title, very cool. You can find me at AWyatt76 at Letterboxd, and you can find my writings on the Take Up, at least starting back in January again.
Very cool. And I'm Joshua Ray. Find me at Crispy Retina's Instagram, Letterboxd. Yeah, it's always changing. My one more thing is a theft of a one more thing that Andrew Wyatt recommended.
Oh, okay.
It is an HBO docuseries called Lady and the Dale.
Oh, yeah.
Why did I take so long? Even if it weren't kind of excitingly made and the story itself, take 4 hours to tell me the story, please. Right. It is the story of a woman who had production over a car called the Dale, which was supposedly a 3-wheel car that would get 70 miles to the gallon. And it is a story of a trans woman who's undergoing the most extenuating circumstances. And it's such a great peek into more contemporary trans history than I ever expected it to be, and has these great, like, I can't talk about the fucking news anchor who.
Oh yeah, no, we can. We know we can.
But I don't know his name. Fucking murder him.
It's Tucker Carlson's father. Doesn't that explain a lot?
Do they say this? And yes. I haven't watched the final episode.
It's his
dad. I am going to throw. I am on this podcast.
I'm sorry if I spoiled something. I thought that was earlier in the series.
No, it's fine because I would rather hurl something up here than to my television.
Yeah. No, great series. We were talking earlier about episodic streaming television. That is a miniseries that uses the act break, the 4-episode series. It is spectacular use of the episodic nature of it. Each of those 4 has a different emphasis.
The story dictates that there be 4 chapters, and there are 4 chapters.
And each one tackles a subject. Yeah. It's really fascinating.
I like that HBO is kind of moving, it seems, at least in their documentary films, moving away from, it must be 8, or it must be 6, and letting the story dictate how long the thing is. They're great telemarketers. Was 3 episodes this year and packed in quite a story in there. But it also uses this like cut
out animation,
animation to great effect, and it does a great job kind of putting you in the time and place. Mostly 60s and 70s Los Angeles, but it's just a great portrait of resilient woman who's also criminal, also a trans woman, also a mother of many, also just a terrible con and
we all contain legions, right?
Liz Carmichael, we salute you.
Liz Carmichael, be gay, do crimes. That's the lesson there. No, I'm glad this is a full circle. One more thing. I'm glad we have at least one of those.
I just couldn't go without seconding your one more thing with my one more thing. All right, well, that's another episode in the can. You can find us at thetakeup.com, thetake-up.com. Also on social media at thetakeup STL. All right, Andrew, confession time. I have not picked my gym of 2023.
You've got a lot more to pick from than I do, I think. So I'm sure you'll find it.
I think like you, I think I'm going to stick to the beginning of the year. We're going to have a couple of guests come on for this mini-series too. And they have given me a little insight into what they're thinking about making. So it's going to be an exciting time, if only judging from our last series like this. So I'm excited. Well, I guess you'll find out in a couple of weeks what my pick is. First, I'm going to thank partners at Cinema St. Louis. You can find out about them at cinemastlouis.org. Social media from Kayla McCullough. Ooh, Kayla McCullough. Kayla, text me and let me know if you're listening to this and you hear that. Our editor, Jessica Pierce, and our theme music by AMP. And well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks for a mystery movie. It's a mystery what he's picking. He might just pick May, December, so they can talk about it more.
We're running out of time, but you have plenty of time to stick around with the outro.
I'm so sorry. I'll cut it. I'll cut it out. All right.
Tighten it.
Yeah.